Alright, so this video is about NoFap. So there's a lot of commotion on the internet about NoFap and everything like that. So I think there's definitely some benefits to it, but there's also a lot of misinformation and sort of just kind of weird mumbo jumbo. So one thing is the whole testosterone increasing by 400% is just complete. I don't know who thought that's true, but or who didn't fact check that, but if you do any type of cross checking, who isn't just a complete random person saying that from what they've heard randomly, you'll see that this study was a 40% increase 7 days later that quickly fell back to baseline. So yeah, it doesn't actually exist, the study. The next thing is if you have an addiction to the hub or whatever, then I definitely think taking a step back and not, because you should not be watching that stuff, that shit. That's terrible for you. Anyone who's telling you that that's not bad is just out of their mind. I don't know. Definitely do not watch the hub. There's numerous reasons, numerous videos of why you shouldn't do that. It's pretty obvious. I mean, just off the top of my head, the time sink is terrible. The amount it overstimulates and fucks your brain for normal girls is just terrible. I mean, it's just bad. I don't think anyone has to be convinced of that. If you need convincing, then I don't know what to tell you, man. But once you've taken a step back from this, internal temp high. My bad. My camera overheated or something like that, and then I said internal temp too high. So, anyways, once you've taken a step back from the whole your addiction, basically, once you've conquered the addiction, I think a lot of people get into this trap of if you're not getting girls at the moment, you're not fucking any bitches at the moment, right? Then, and you have this long extended period of sort of just semen retention. It would be if you're doing NoFap and not getting girls, it's semen retention. After a while, it might be fine for a bit, but you'll notice your libido just goes down. And it might not be like this for everyone, but I've talked to other people about this, is you get to a point, I think it's around 2 months or so, your libido will go down to the point where you don't even really have much of a sexual desire or even an urge just in general. And it's weird, it's emasculating. It's sort of just you become sort of this sort of shell. You don't have any energy. You don't have that same drive. It's just sort of sort of weird for me to describe, but it's sort of like a trap at the end, I guess. So I would say there's definitely issues with both sides, basically, because if you never release, your libido goes down, and it's sort of you kind of just become a little bit of a bitch, a little bit. I don't know. I don't mean to be rude, but it's yeah. And if you're doing it and it works for you and you're not noticing any of this, that's great. But I just wanted to, give some insight on this topic. However, if you go too far in the other extreme, all the reasons why just masturbation in general has negatives is because if you just do it too often, it's bad. I mean, I think most people have experienced this. If you've ever taken a break from it, you realize that it's probably not good to do it every single day or something like that. You just start feeling worse. There's a whole issue with your dopamine. It's it kind of just takes your drive out in a way too, because you kind of don't really pursue getting girls as much because you're kind of not that you should chase girls or anything, but just you don't even put any effort into it because it's you just kind of become a weak sort of feminine, So yeah, there's definitely issues on both sides of the spectrum. Yeah, so there's a balance, I guess. It can't be too long, it can't be too often. I think it has to be you can figure it out for yourself. I'm not really gonna say exactly, but yeah, at some point where you're not feeling sad because of the baseline dropping of like a high dopamine action or whatever behavior, and you're not going completely like cold turkey and having no libido, and it's like you know, inverse U curve is what it is. So there's like an inverse U curve for a lot of things. Like if you were to, vegetables are good, right? If you eat zero vegetables, you know, it's bad. This was I was drawing a U, but inverse anyways. So it's like this, right? If you eat no vegetables, it's bad. You eat like this right amount of vegetables, this part that's great. And if you eat like way too many vegetables, like technically you could probably die, I guess, if you ate like an obscene amount of vegetables. I don't think anyone's ever done that, but like, you know, there's always something that would be here and here. And that's what I wanted to talk about. That's like the main thing I wanted to say about this video is there's, you know, being a complete degenerate and fucking like blowing your wad like 6 times a day. And then there's, you know, never ever doing anything, semen retention. And if that's your religion or anything like that, I don't want to disrespect that. It's perfectly fine, but I just wanted to like educate you on some potential downsides, you could say. So, yeah, I think you want to find like wherever this is for you. That would be my recommendation. So, yeah. Now, in terms of using the energy that you have when you're in this right particular range where your libido's good and everything like that, right? You want to, I think something I've learned is like to direct this energy in like a productive way. So instead of like directing this energy into just like self-pleasure or anything like that, you kind of temper it and direct this energy into your goals. And the way you do this is convincing yourself in your mind, basically, that this thing will lead to having, you know, an abundance of girls in the future. So like, you know, this activity, let's say lifting, you know, this is something that like, I think this is like a lot of people's motivation, but it's definitely one of my motivations for starting lifting. Is like, I knew that eventually, if I lifted for a long time, and I was consistent, I was motivated, I ate enough, I would eventually build a physique that gets me attraction from girls. So that's a simple way. It's called like, I think it's called sublimation. It's like a flipping of things. There's like different ways you can convert the energy, or like I think Freud talked about this, like the impulses of the id. The ego can like kind of change it, so you can direct it into a proper manner, which is sublimation, which is like one of the most mature ways to direct your impulses, right? So you can direct this impulse and use the energy for a productive mean. Whatever it is, you could direct it towards basically anything. You could direct it towards taking cold showers and just convince yourself how it would help. You could direct it towards, you know, building your business and how that would work. You could direct it towards like, you know, I mean, pretty much anything, like learning how feminine energy works, getting more experience with girls, stuff like that. All the hard things, you could just do anything with it. It's just like a fuel source that you're just like not tapping into if you're on either one of these sides. So yeah, it's definitely helpful for reaching your goals and everything like that. So let's see. I guess another thing would be like to get more of this energy is it's very closely linked to your testosterone. So I think men have like something, don't quote me, but I think men have something like 17 times more testosterone than women do. So we have like way more like sex drive basically, right? And so because we have so much of this sex drive, you can use it for energy, like I said, but to get more of it and to have more energy in general, testosterone is great just in general because it's awesome. And I'll make a whole separate video about, I like to touch on this every once in a while, just, you know. Testosterone increases from completing, like, pushing yourself and reaching small goals, like incremental goals. It can be, like, very small. But it occurs from that. Just doing the things you're supposed to do, feeling accomplished in yourself. That's one way to increase testosterone. Another one is recovery. So just like sleeping enough, eating well, don't like not overtraining, don't not being like insane. Um, let's see what else. Another one is like people don't really think about this one a lot. Is like sunlight. A lot of people are vitamin D deficient, and if you don't spend time in the sun, it's like very bad for your testosterone levels. So that's something I would recommend. I'll make a whole video about that too. But yeah, all right. If you need any help with anything in particular, if you need any help with any of these points, I think I found like a good point right now. So if you have like um, any questions about like how to stop watching the hub if you have that addiction right now, or any questions about like sexual energy and in between, then yeah, coaching down below. Any other issues, addictions, lifting, any habits you want to start, mindset, anything like that, coaching down below. Have a good one. Peace.